In Namjoon's recent documentary RM Right People Wrong Place, documenting the making of his first solo album Right Place Wrong Person, Namjoon said that while he was making the concept for the music video of Come Back to Me, he was thinking about the myth of Sisyphus. An allegory for the absurd, this myth seems to have captured another more detailed meaning in Namjoon's song. Albert Camus, founder of the philosophy of the absurd, has an essay titled The Myth of Sisyphus, which Namjoon didn't mention reading, but I found a lot of connection between his philosophy and the song. So most of my interpretation will be based on the parallels between the essay and the lyrics, but we'll go a little bit also through the music video because eventually the music video and the lyrics somehow connect, and therefore will also connect the lyrics and this Camus essay. So, what is the myth of Sisyphus? In Greek mythology, Sisyphus was a clever king who cheated death twice through his wit and cunning. For his refusal to accept fate, the gods condemned him to roll a boulder up a hill only for it to roll back down every time he neared the top. This easily became an allegory for how absurd fate is and how you can't run from your destiny because although Sisyphus didn't die, the perpetual useless and tiring action made him feel lifeless or dead. The key word we have to keep in mind until now is fate, because when looking at the music video for Come Back to Me, as I have said before in another of my videos, it reminds me a lot of the book The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, which we saw BTS reading a lot during in the Soup season 2. And the main character of this book basically lives different lives based on the different decision they would have taken. In the first part of the music video, we see that in all those lives he could have lived, he was suffering, he was met with pain. While in the second part of the music video, we see how all those lives he found love through them. I think that this could also work as an exploration of whether making a different decision would have brought him less pain, less suffering, or maybe more love, or maybe if he would have found a different type of love through a different type of decision. So it's what fate would have all those different decisions give him. And through this music video, we understand that despite all the decisions he could have taken, love and suffering are two things which will inevitably be part of your fate, of your life, and you'll have to experience them, that you can't run away from them, but you have to confront them because they're going to come back at you. Even if in a period of your life you're gonna have more love than suffering, and in another period it's gonna be vice versa. Love and suffering are two main concepts in human life and in fate which you cannot escape but you have to live and confront them. Or let's look at the music video and the myth of Sisyphus from another perspective. If Sisyphus didn't roll the ball up the hill, it would have killed him because the ball would have fallen over him. So Sisyphus only had two choices: either accept death or accept his fate. But because he was so stubborn and he had already cheated death twice, he decided to pursue this useless task in rolling the ball up the hill. That same way, Namjoon realizes that love and suffering are always going to come back at him or to him. So he has to live this life anyway, and he's going to have to live it with love and with suffering and accepting both of them, because through acceptance, this is the only way he'll be free. And we'll get to that in a second. Now, we're going back to Camus' essay, and from here, we're gonna have a more lyrics focused analysis. So, in the essay, Camus transferred this image of the man rolling the ball up the hill into the modern world and made an allegory between the rolling of the ball up the hill, a meaningless action, and the man of today, tied to his office jobs, often having to face a boring routine which prevents him from fully evolving. In his essay, Camus talks a lot about revolt and the philosophy of suicide, which I won't go into here, but in the end, he comes with an approach on how to be able to face this devastating juxtaposition between the wish of giving life meaning and realizing that you cannot do anything about it, which is acceptance. Once someone accepts the absurd, he gains freedom by no longer setting expectations and trying to achieve something in his life for it to have a meaning. The man who is now conscious of the absurd is no longer bound by hope for a better tomorrow, but he enjoys a freedom with regard to common rules. And when thinking about come back to me the lyrics, some of the lyrics which are most prominent and which kind of seem like the main lyrics are you don't have to be the anything you see. Try not to be something in the sea. From the beginning, we understand that he implies that being part of the sea is meaningless. But now that we know Camus' perception of meaningless, we understand these lyrics as a statement of freedom and liberation, because now that he understands how absurd this world is, trying to fit in it is even more absurd. You'd lose yourself. The reason I'm saying this is because not long after this, he says, quote, now I can see what life is about, end quote. Once again, I'm assuming that this is a reference to this life approach, which gives so much comfort, in my opinion, because no matter what you will do from some point of view, it will be meaningless. And this is life no matter how hard you try to change it. Earlier, we said that this new man, conscious of the absurd, enjoys a freedom with regard to common rules, but in order to live in that reality, you have to accept it, which is a much deeper and tedious thought process than just understanding, quote, what life is about. Camus also claims that when Sisyphus acknowledges how meaningless his task is and how he cannot change his fate, he is then freed of uncertainty and the mystery of not understanding what his life is about and reaches a state of acceptance, as we have said before. But how does Namjoon do it? We know that he repeats the line, "You are my pain divine," 16 times. Pain divine is a reference to the pain the gods, the divine, put upon Sisyphus, which now we know it is a metonymy for the modern man, respectively the pain of having to live in this day and age, but in the context of Camus' philosophy, having to live in general. The number 4, because 4 times 4 equals 16, is considered one of the most powerful numbers because it represents wholeness and completion of justice. Therefore, through the symbolism of the number 4, we understand that he is coming to terms with a universal truth, something he cannot change. We basically have two numbers of 4, one representing his acceptance once he finally feels whole and at peace with himself, and the other representing this journey to finding this justice, this universal truth which defines him in the end and help him be more human and more himself. If we take after Camus' perspective from his essay, it is an act of rebellion because rather than feeling defeated by all the harsh realizations he walks us through the lyrics, Namjoon just comes to terms with them and presents them to us as something natural and a given. Let's go back to the essay where Camus says that what actually interests him in the most about Sisyphus is his face when he sees the ball rolling down. Quote, it is during that return, that pause, that Sisyphus interests me. A face that dwells so close to stone is already stone itself. I see that man going down with a heavy yet measured step toward the torment of which we'll never know the end. End quote. Camus says that we must imagine that Sisyphus is happy because this would mean that he accepts his fate rather than letting himself be defeated by it. Regarding this, Namjoon writes, quote, be what you be, I'll roll you to the moon, end quote. Because no matter what his surroundings are, what life throws at him, what absurdities surround him, he'll continue living and he'll continue doing what he's meant to do and rolling the ball to the moon despite of it all. And this despite of it all is actually what is important and what seems to be the climax of the song. His be what you be can also be understood as no matter what you do or you do you. It can be a direct or indirect response to the world, or it can be a mockery of life, as in, no matter what my destiny is, I'll persevere and I'll prove you wrong in my happiness and in my power to be able to find joy and happiness in these hardships and these meaningless actions, I will survive. And as a side note, this reminds me of something Namjoon posted on his story where he wrote, quote, "True revenge is to be strong, to survive, to protect," unquote. All this time we talked about Sisyphus, but we didn't give too much meaning to the stone ball. Here is what Namjoon says about it, quote, "If it falls, it's going to return back to me. Everything will return back to me. Love, suffering is going to repeat forever. The boulder will fall again and again will be pushed back," end quote. It seems like he puts an emphasis on the process more than on the outcome, because what he will give, that will return to him, that will come back to him. If he still has to carry this rock, this weight on his shoulders, if he has to live this life anyway, if he has to carry this destiny, he would rather do it with love and acceptance rather than suffering, which is already a given. But as we said before, it's about the act of rebellion, of smiling while pushing the rock in spite of what's given and what not. Or maybe it doesn't matter what happens in the process because it's all meaningless, right? It will have to happen again. Maybe next time it can be a little better than the previous one. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end. I hope you enjoyed this video and I would love to hear your thoughts on this. If you enjoyed this video, I think you'll also enjoy the video about Blue Side being the bridge between J-Hope's two albums, where we discuss the meaning and symbolism of the toy from the Jack in the Box. And I think you'll also enjoy the video where I make an analysis about the Lost music video, also by RM.